My favorite part is connecting people with people who are just like them. And then the relationship that forms from my introduction to them.
Yeah.
It's just so fulfilling. They travel together, they go on dates together, and now they're best friends in this non-monogamous lifestyle. And it's very rewarding feeling once having that successful match.
This program contains coarse language and discusses mature themes. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome back to The Birds and the Bee with me, Chelsea B. We have a very fun group of people here today. As always, we have partner and producer Matt.
Hello, hello.
We have Victoria.
Hi.
And Ryan.
Hello.
Of Birds of a Feather Matchmaking. And they also do ENM coaching together. And then we also have JR Cruz and Jazmine Cruz.
Hey there.
Hey, y'all.
Just Cruz'n podcast.
That's right.
And we are so excited specifically to have Victoria and Ryan here. So if you could just tell us a little about what you do.
Yeah, so Birds of a Feather Matchmaking is the first certified matchmaking firm specializing in what I call non-traditional relationships, also known as ethically non-monogamous relationships, polyamorous relationships, open relationships, and swinger lifestyle relationships.
Amazing. How did you get started in this?
Oh, that's a fun question. You got it.
So it's a kind of a fun story. So I had finished my MBA and I wanted to start my own business, but I didn't know what I wanted my business to be at the time. And then when we were honeymooning in Iceland, road tripping around, a screenshot was going around of a matchmaker looking for singles for her clients. So I thought to myself, like, that would be an amazing gig. Like, you can work hybrid, but more importantly, you bring more love into the world. And so upon further research, I discovered that there was no matchmaker specializing in non-monogamy. So I interviewed other matchmakers, kind of heard about their stories, and everything was aligning. They're like, we need someone like you. Because I was personally interested in the ENM matchmaking part. And also, upon research, noticed that they would turn away people, like through interviews, that they would turn away people who were kinky. And so I was like, well, I would be happy to take on those people who want to be non-monogamous or have, that kind of part of their, their sex life. And so I went and got certified with the Global Love Institute and went to conferences, and it was just amazing. And ever since then, I started at the...
Here you are.
And here we are. I started it last year, so it's up and coming, and it's been it's been amazing.
That's very cool. Yeah, I've heard of matchmaking, but I've never met anyone who specializes in like ENM and like actually supports like the kinkier lifestyles. Were you in these lifestyles before you met one another?
A little, no, not.
No,
we're gonna say
okay.
no, like a little parties here and there, but not really. So.
Okay.
But we started our journey pretty early on in our relationship. But we've been in the lifestyle for 8 years.
8 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So been in the realm. We love the people, and it's a niche that I'm happy to be a part of.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's important that, especially that you love what you do. I feel like that's definitely, and I feel like the communities to feel welcomed in a space where it's kind of still stigmatized. It's not to kind of offer that service, I feel like is really, really cool.
Absolutely. And with the coaching part of our business too, we help men specifically who either want to be in a relationship, traditional or not traditional, or who want to be a successful single male in the lifestyle as well.
Ah, okay. Well, yeah. What does that look like? What? Yeah, you meet a man.
Which part? The coaching part in general?
All of it.
Where does one even begin? Like matchmaking, and then adding on top of that ENM matchmaking for men. Like, where do you start? Getting to know the person first, right? Like, we gotta talk to them and find out what kind of person they are. Are they going to be good in a space with naked people, or are they going to like lose their mind?
How far back do you have to start in coaching based on like their experience level? I feel like that is like a big part of evaluating.
It's a bit of a process. So the first thing to do is join our dating database.
Which I saw your little like database. I thought that was so cute. I loved it.
I want to make sure everyone knows what this is for. Yes. So first they join that. It's just a few questions to let me get to know them. The next step would be to schedule a call. It could be a Zoom call, phone call, and that's where we talk to each other. That's where I tell them about the services, and that's when we quote them and all that. And then if they move forward, then it depends. Like for coaching and matchmaking, it's two different kind of clients, and we can't matchmake everybody, but we can coach anybody. Or any man, I should say. But we matchmake for men and women. And so when we are diving into getting to know them, we find out what they're struggling with. And then with our packages, we cover pretty much everything in the dating cycle. We have a rewritten profile. We have photography being redone. We have practice dates. We offer a wingman service if they're local, and image consulting. So anything they might struggle with, we try to figure out what it is. And we also offer one-on-one sessions. And based on the package, it's like 5 or 6, and then Ryan and I take turns coaching so that they get a male and female perspective.
Oh, that's smart. I like that. And like, I feel like those are those aspects are things that I wouldn't think. Like, I think of like photos, and I'm like, I don't need to see another picture of you holding a fish. Like,
Don't get me started.
It's so funny that you say that specific example too.
I'm thinking about like my app experiences. That's so interesting.
That's with like the coaching bit. And then when it comes to matchmaking, similar process. And then after that phone call, the next step is actually we have NDAs, candidate agreements, and contracts to have a layer of privacy and protection for our clients. Because everyone that we introduce to them is background checked, vetted, and interviewed. And from there, we get those things signed. And then that's when we do like a 1.5 hour to 2 hour deep discovery interview with the client, get to know them, find out who they're very compatible with. And then basically from there, it's executive recruiting for their love lives.
I like it. I love it.
It's really interesting. We've had a couple of people that we've interviewed and that have been kink and even some of those of us in the lifestyle, like we talk about like that self-shame that a lot of people have, and then they don't know how to bring that up to a partner. Like, you know, is that something that you need to like disclose right off the bat, you know, or? Well,
it is a bit trickier when you're out in the wild trying to do it for sure. It's like you don't know when to bring it up, and pretty much it is based on being comfortable. Yes.
There we go.
And generally it's kind of letting the women lead that conversation, like when to bring up anything sexual, like let her be the one to kind of open it up. Like don't be the first one. Don't like the first message be like, do you like anal? Like, no, you know, ease into those kind of conversations.
I really like feet. So could you just like jam your feet in my face?
Maybe on like the third date.
Yeah, exactly.
Fetishes are okay.
But so that's kind of like one of the perks of my matchmaking business is like ask all those questions ahead of time and make sure that everyone's okay with it and cool with it before even going on the first date.
Yeah.
So on top of all those details and like core values and all that. So
which I feel like that transfers into just even monogamous dating, like just ease up a little. So that's so interesting. So I'm curious, and a question for both of you separately, your favorite part of what you do, and it can, you know, just whatever aspect of your business, you know, you want to refer to your favorite part and your least favorite part.
I'll go with my favorite part first. I think that's just seeing people grow and help them and really just getting them out of their shell. Like that's really, really nice.
Yeah.
My favorite part, I'd say, is just connecting people with people who are just like them. And then the relationship that forms from my introduction to them.
Yeah.
It's just so fulfilling, like find like these two people, they meet and they hit it off right away, and then they just have this wonderful time together. They travel together, they go on dates together, and now they're best friends in this non-monogamous lifestyle. And it's very rewarding feeling once having that successful match. I feel like that's my favorite part.
And I'm sure like even if something doesn't work out, their eyes are kind of open to a new world, which I was monogamous before I met my partner Matt, and I can't imagine going back. And so there was this entire world that I didn't even know existed. Yes. And I just like fit right into it. You know, I was like, oh, this is for me. Okay.
And least favorite?
Least favorite, I guess. This is tough. Probably trying to help somebody and them not taking the advice.
Okay.
Like, hey, this is what's wrong with your profile. Like, don't put the fish picture as your first picture. And then, but I like fishing. Well, yeah, but you don't have to put that in everybody's face.
Right.
Like,
It's not your whole personality.
yeah, exactly. Like that. Just scale it back. Just ease us into
Scale it back. I see what you did there. That was beautiful.
Got it. Yep.
Yeah, and then for me, I'd say, so I don't take everyone on as a client, and I have different things that I check for and ask when I'm interviewing potential clients, and I would say the ones who are obviously looking for something transactional, the ones that are like, I need someone 20 years younger than me, or I need someone like this, need someone like that, where it's like, it feels like they want like
threesome.
Yeah. So
Red
I get a lot of people. Yeah, exactly. Or people try to inquire looking for play partners, and I tell them I don't want play partners. But before I say that, they're like, I'm looking for someone who's available during daylight hours during weekdays. Like
that's so specific.
And
that's not
it doesn't sound ethical, and it doesn't sound legitimate. I'm like, does your partner know that you're talking to me? Like
Right.
that kind of stuff. So that's my least favorite part is when
Okay.
people are acting like sus and also wanting what seems like a transactional, and they're not like wanting an actual like loving relationship.
Right.
They have like a Build-A-Bear kind of mentality when it comes to trying to find someone.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
That was a great analogy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Build-A-Bear.
Build-A-Bear
mentality.
relationship.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I had a question, if I can chime in. Do you do like before and after transformations? Like this is what they looked like before, how they were, their image, and how they were emotionally, and then after on your
That's a
site?
good idea. We
I
should.
have-
We
yeah.
haven't done that yet.
That
but-
was just an idea I
No,
came
but
up with.
thank
Just
you.
because I love
testimonials.
No, that's
it
great.
just came up to me.
Yeah, I think
I
that'd
think
be
you should
really
do that.
good.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, especially when it comes to style. That could definitely be a good, like a before and after of like their profile, how they are as a person, kind of like a
Yes.
Yeah, like a holistic.
Holistic,
Yeah.
emotionally, physically, everything, their confidence, their self-esteem.
Yeah, that's a really good idea to
No,
probably document
thank you
something
for
like
that.
that. Just,
Yeah, no problem.
even if it doesn't go anywhere, it's just still good to see like the progress made and being able to show them at the end how they started and how they finished.
Yes.
Yeah.
Interesting. So I would be curious, like, just, and it doesn't have to be like a one-liner, but for people who are not in the lifestyle, who have never even experimented in non-monogamy, what would you say to people who are interested? I guess just like a piece of advice or
So that's funny that you mentioned that because on Saturday at 5 p.m. at Exotica, I did a speaking engagement called Opening Your Relationship.
Oh,
And
okay.
I created
awesome. Wow.
a flyer basically where it's steps on how to have the conversation. And then I created a list of yes, no's, or maybes based on like things that were kind of kinky, and then also things that leaned poly, things that leaned open relationship, and things that leaned swinging / lifestyle.
okay.
Because some people like are they're under the umbrella of ethical non-monogamy, but they're not sure which flavor they are.
Yeah.
So
There
that
you
kind of
go.
helps guide them into like what they're interested in, and then it's an activity that they can do together as a couple, but separately. So they take 10 to 15 minutes to kind of fill it out, come together and have that conversation, and then the next step would be to go do something about it, go to an event, open up, and that kind of way.
I'd say for the one-liner though is
Oh yeah.
you won't know until you know.
Yes, I
You
like
don't know
that.
until you know.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Or it's not as scary as it seems.
Yes,
Yeah,
That's
agreed.
good too.
Yeah, I feel like in like a new relationship, or people who have been together for a certain number of years, you just get nervous because if you ask to open up your relationship, someone is probably going to feel some sort of tinge of like, wait, I'm not good enough. And it's not necessarily that. It's just you can bring more into a relationship.
I think it's really a lot of people have, or if not most people, or everyone, has a fear of abandonment. They don't want to be abandoned,
Ding,
so all they
ding.
need
Yep.
is reassurance.
Right.
And that reassurance can look like different ways, and it might take a certain amount of time to really just relax and feel safe and trust and respect your partner and have those open and honest communications without judgment and without fights happening or anything like that, and being able to move forward. Because you love your partner, you want to be with them, but you also want to have these experiences, but you don't want them to abandon you.
Right.
Because you didn't have the tools, you didn't have the conversation, and
Yeah.
just pretty much
We- we
reassurance
always-
is like the biggest thing.
Whenever we're trying to introduce people to the lifestyle as well, we tell them to, baby step into it. Like go to something, see it, but don't do anything.
Right.
And then,
Yeah.
then
Yes.
go home, talk about it. See
Yep.
what did you like, what didn't you like, what turned you on,
Communication.
what turned you,
Yeah.
Just
communication. Super
baseline
key.
communication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Interesting. So how do you define your relationship as like, because I learned like, okay, there are poly people, then there are swingers who don't want any emotion in things. How do you define yourselves?
It's swingers, pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, we have a lot of friends with, that we do things with over and over, but there's no, we like worrying about each other's emotional
Yeah.
states and
Yeah.
not really bells. I guess I'm lazy.
No. I just find it interesting. There were just so many things that I learned of like, well, we're swingers, and I didn't know that meant. There's just a lot of different terminology. There's a different lexicon that comes with all of these
You can
things.
group it into like three main ones, like open relationships, lifestyle swinging, and then polyamorous.
Yes.
Uh,
They're very vocal on field. I feel when you
say the
started
wrong
like
thing.
a conversation, and then you start a conversation with swingers, and maybe you use the P word poly, and they're like, "Oh my God, no, this is not what this is," and like vice versa. Sometimes there's like this brick wall between the two.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, it's probably the same thing with talking to a non-monogamous person, a monogamous person, when you say difference between swinging and life or and polyamorous, right? Like you're just like, whoa, that's not us. Like, relax.
Which is
you-
crazy.
yeah.
Like, because even in like within the lifestyle and ENM couples and stuff, there's even still stigmas that we put on people like that. I mean,
Yeah, for sure.
you know, it like we run into that in the industry a lot. You know, there's a lot of them out there that are willing to, you know, step on other content creators to try to get their stuff out there first. And we should be embracing, encouraging, and supporting one another, because there's plenty of people on the outside of this that already hate us. Like, we should all kind of be united in this.
Be able to coexist spaces.
Well, you know, and it's funny too, because like you mentioned in the swinger lifestyle, like there's so many subsets of that too, because you've got you know, you've got soft swap only, full swap, same room,
Hot
separate room,
wifing.
hot wifing, vixen, stag.
Yeah, it's
So many things to learn. Yes.
it's confusing for sure.
And
Definitely.
something that I also tell people is like, just be open to change.
Yes.
Because like there's been experiences where people they start out as swingers, but then they fall in love with their friends and become poly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or there's people who are swingers and they're like, well, I kind of want to have more of like a sub-master thing, but someone's like, well, I want to swing. I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
we'll come back home and play house on the
Yeah.
weekdays, you know? So it's being open to change and just trying things out and just pretty much, you know, doing things that make you happy, but also your partner happy. And that's pretty much
And
the goal.
communicating
Back to
those
that.
things
Yes.
between one another.
Do you hold seminars in other locations or conventions that we can maybe hear about this?
So far,
I'm
it's-
just curious about it.
So far as has been Exotica. I did one last year called Are You Fit for Ethical Non-Monogamy? And then this year I did Opening Your Relationship.
Okay.
And I'm actually a part of this networking group called Engaged Speakers, where we're a networking group specifically to work on public speaking. So I don't have anything planned at the moment, although there was plans for me to speak at our matchmaking conference with other matchmakers that have other niches. But that's kind of like in the works. It might go through,
Okay.
it might not. But I do want to do more engagement speakings and be a part of more podcasts, get the word out.
We do
But
have
at the moment, I
plans-
don't have
I would say
any.
we do have plans to put like content on Instagram, like short form content.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
more to
Okay.
that. And then blogs as well and all that jazz. But
If I can ask then, how was Exotica? How was the difference between like coaching people online versus having this sort of real life pitch?
we do multimodal, so we do in person and online. It just depends on where the person we're coaching is, right? So we've done in person before, but I mean, here it was more. It wasn't coaching per se. It was more like selling the product.
Right,
Like,
you're
here you
pitching
go.
it, yeah.
So it was just pitching. I mean, it's kind of hard pitching it at Exotica,
It's
right?
chaotic.
It's really loud.
Yeah.
It's it was
Attention
definitely-
spans are just
Yeah, like,
very-
hey, are you single?
Yes.
Do you not want to be? Come here.
So something I offered, I had a giveaway for a potential complimentary match.
Oh.
And so I got the information of people who were interested in dating. And so I'm going to follow up with them and ask them questions, their core values, their long-term goals. And if somebody is compatible with them, I'm going to match them for free.
Nice. That's a good little.
So that was a good conversation
offer.
piece. It was interesting seeing people who I meet these guys, like for coaching clients, I meet these
Right.
guys and I'm like, there's so much we could already work with. You know, they come up and they're like, I already see immediately I'm thinking of ways like to help them. Of course, I'm not going to say that until they're officially in my
So,
client.
paint a little bit bigger of a picture here. Like, tell me some examples.
Body language is a huge one. As soon as somebody
Okay.
walks up, I mean, in like 3 seconds, I can look at somebody and tell them if they're confident, how they, as soon as they open their mouth, how they speak, like what are they saying, how are they saying it. There's so many things how you carry yourself you don't even realize, but you're getting judged constantly, and
course.
that's definitely, I guess, a small subset of. How
But
to-
a
how
huge
to-
part of just like relationships in general,
Yeah.
be them romantic,
Yep.
be them not, like how you conduct yourself and
For sure.
interact with other people.
and
Yeah.
what you talk about.
So it's different to see them in person because when I'm doing a Zoom interview with them, it's just like face to face in that kind of way. But like in person, you can see the whole picture, like how they are, how they walk, how they talk, how they're dressing. That's a really big difference.
Is a big one as well. Like it just
Because dressing and styling yourself alone can be a huge changer to your image and being able to be approachable or how you talk to people.
And granted, it's subjective, right? Like you're going to have your
Right.
own style, and what you wear is part of you, right? But you can be presented better, no matter what you have. So
I want to know a little bit more about the frequently asked questions that you get, particularly from men, or if you can tell our audience what your inbox is full of. What are some really easy things, like the really frequent questions that people get that can be resolved here in a simple elevator pitch?
Mindful that you don't want to give anything away for free.
I'm just laughing. Do you want the weird ones?
Oh,
do you want
we want some
the fun
anecdotes.
ones?
We want the fun ones. Thank you. That's what I'm getting at.
I mean, she's had
I got a lot of inquiries.
a lot of inquiries about people being our furniture, being our slaves, and we're like,
Okay.
no.
And then they
Thank you.
ask to be matched with somebody who they can be their furniture, they can be their slave. So a lot of
And granted, we refer
Interesting.
them to people we know who are in that
Yes,
space.
We do try to
just,
help them
that-
in that way,
yeah.
but personally, it's for me that they inquire about or try to be matched with me, and I'm like, no, but I can help you if you're looking. If you're on the dating market, I could probably help you. But yeah.
Because usually we get inquiries from a surprising number of couples in our OnlyFans inbox. Yeah, I mean, usually the questions that I filter out for both of us is, hey, how do I get to the gangbang? How do I get to the sex party? And my answer is always like, if you're a single guy, go on the apps, start meeting people at safe for work events, cocktail hours, mixers, book meetings at feminist bookstores, like in New York and Chicago and LA. There's a lot of options. If you're a little bit more rural, you might have to be more online, but like build trust in the community before asking about the play parties, and you'll naturally be invited. You'll know where they're
You're missing a lot of steps. Just like, I want to go to a gangbang. It's like, that's
Like, first off, you're probably not even going to do well in that space. Like you,
yeah, a lot of missing steps there.
Yeah. So as an example,
I
like
give the
that's
same
what
advice. When people want to get into the community and have those experiences, I give them the same advice. Like, go out and be friends first, and then go from there.
And learn what it means to be in the community.
Yes.
Like,
Learn
I
from
feel like safer when we go to play parties. I feel safer in those environments than when I was just dating as a single person.
Yeah, for sure.
There's just like a sense of trust, and for the most part in these communities, and
Definitely
like,
different standards.
yeah,
that you have to learn about.
communication and like talking about boundaries up front, and
Yep.
like sexual health and consent, and all of these things that it's like, no, you don't just get to go to a gangbang, or you don't just get to go to a play party. Like, there are a lot of underlying factors in there.
we do get some, going back to the
Oh yeah, I guess
common questions. We do get
business.
questions about anonymity and like how we kind of like, hey, how does this work? I'm not a public facing or like, a public facing figure. How do I do this without putting my face out there? Like, and we have, you can talk more on that, but.
Yeah. I thought I was dating a sunset photo on Field. I don't understand why.
Which, I mean, I think that also speaks to the stigma that's just still around being not monogamous. Like, I'm an executive or something. How do I keep it a secret? Like, it needs to be a secret. And so I think that even conversations like this are just really important, just to
Normalize it.
Exactly. Because we're not like evil sinners that, I mean, speak for yourself.
You're not.
There are still jobs that you have to sign a contract saying that there's some lewd behavior can terminate you from such and such job. So that still exists.
That's still, I mean, I still have like a corporate job, and so there's always like an underlying, like, I'm an content creator, and there's always a factor of like, what happens if people find out? And it's still
Tori, you were saying about anonymity. Thank you.
Yes. So if people are asking for a level of privacy, that's what the contracts, NDA, and Canada agreement are for. But also we can talk about like not sharing photos, or we have different levels of that. And something that I do with my process of matchmaking is after both parties mutually agree that they'd like to go on to a date, I plan the date. They go on the date, and they can't exchange contacts until both parties mutually agree that they'd like to move forward.
that's smart.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So no numbers are exchanged, maybe no last names are exchanged, so
Yeah.
they don't know how to be reached unless it's through me and they both agreed that they'd
They
like to
both
continue to talk.
consensually want to continue.
Exactly.
the-
So
the
there's no
convers-
pressure to say
Yeah.
yes, I don't know, maybe so. So I keep that as part of my
Nice,
strategy
yeah.
for keeping privacy.
I feel like that's
That's
a
really cool.
huge factor.
That's interesting, because we get a lot of requests or I see a lot of things on apps where it's like, we got to verify before we move forward with anything. And I'm like, is there still a lot of catfishing that happens on these things?
Yeah.
I would
Probably.
assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Catfishing is a big deal, and then also people are, I guess, from the men's perspective, a lot of women are on Tinder to promote themselves, not date, and so they're a little bit frustrated in that kind of way. But catfishing is very much alive and real.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah, and like as like I'm still on some of these apps, and I just it's so. And we had a conversation with another person who helps other people create their dating profiles, and I feel like as a woman on these apps, you get all of these matches, but then it's just like, hey, you're hot. Hey, and it's just
the one line hey, we don't respond to any.
and yeah, now there's this evolution of like AI, and you get intros from these AI profiles that are much more in depth and like actually communicating with you. And so now there's this kind of blur of like,
That's happened
Is
to
this
you?
is this real?
this is real. No, it's very real.
I know that's
yeah.
your question you have, right? Is this somebody actually
Yeah.
talking to
Is
me?
it real or not?
yeah.
So it's all kind of scary.
We have a running joke that I still think she's a Russian bot because when I met her off Tinder, I'm like, this person's not real. The bio's not real. This is all made up.
I have gotten, yeah, are you a cop? Like, maybe.
Do you want me to be?
I know. I'm like, I have
She's
a
really good
costume,
at her
right? Just out of curiosity, how does one become certified in matchmaking? What is that process like?
Yes, so there's a couple programs, but the one that I did is the largest one, and it's called the Global Love Institute. And it's a 12-week course, and we have mentor and teacher meetings every week. And that is a platform where we can ask any questions that we want. There is assignments that we fill out. And then sometimes there's a new teacher and they teach us new things, or like there's actually presenters there that were talking about identity and verifying it and having it was like some sort of form that you fill out and they verify it through like your license, making sure that you're a legitimate person and going from there. So it's just like learning a lot in these classes. And then, so I did that for 12 weeks. And then I did an in-person, it's the same certification, but there was an in-person thing that we did. And that's when we went over a little bit of everything. It was about pretty much anything you need to know entrepreneurial-wise. And then that's when we got officially certified. So the 12 weeks, then making the business plan, and then officially getting us certified again. It's
You have
kind of
to do
like
a
just
little
more
test too, right?
information.
You have to
Yeah.
do a little test at the conference.
No, there's
Oh,
no test.
never
Yeah,
mind.
it's just the business
Scratch
plan
that.
that they review just to make sure that you're set for starting a business,
Right.
and then they're mentors and they help you through the process for the next like 6 months to a year.
Oh,
So
nice.
And these mentors, who are they?
They're professional matchmakers who have been doing it for 20 plus years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. It's new to me.
Have
Yeah.
you caught any flack from your peers that don't do the ethical non-monogamy part of that?
So, the people that I've interacted with, like for matchmakers or people in
Yeah,
general?
for matchmakers.
No, I have not had. I mean, when I went to a conference, there's maybe some people who just didn't have a conversation with me, but I'm not
Yeah,
really like
stink
seeking them
eye.
out. I'm not seeing them looking at me, giving me stink eye, you know? But I got a lot of great connections. I got there was like, and those are the kind of people I want to talk to, like
Yeah.
who know what I'm about, super proud of me for starting it, and kind of going from there. So I guess there hasn't been fleck other than, so when you mentioned the speaking engagement for later, there was conversations that it wasn't global enough. Like non-monogamy wasn't a global enough topic to talk
Really?
about. Yeah.
Like really?
Yeah. And the other ones were like to have like the other matchmaker niches were to have like curvy clients or ones that are more full bodied and single moms, but that wasn't global enough to have a conversation about.
That's insane.
So yeah, but it
That's
might
so
change.
silly.
So I'm not talking bad. I mean, I understand it. Like they're, it's not the big. It's super niche to have those
Yeah, yeah.
things. So it doesn't apply to everyone, but it could. Those are questions to ask. So that's my opinion on it. But
Yeah. I mean, I think that it would be great for you. You know, like
Yeah,
when they have those clients, like you mentioned earlier, they can then refer them to you. Like if they don't do something like, oh, well, okay. So, I mean, if they disclose that they're more into, I don't know why I keep using feet as the analogy, but
You can
Telling-
like feet. It's
telling
all right.
I actually
Something
don't. But no, we have a few friends that like this guy Bambi Femdom is does a lot of foot fetish and femdom type stuff, and so that was one of his like for a lot of his time dating and as he was growing up having issues with like when do I say that to the person that I'm dating that, oh, by the way, I have these other things that actually get me off. Because the normal, the I don't want to say normal. What's a better way than saying normal?
Fetish?
Traditional?
Conventional?
Conventional.
Either of those two. You know, like that. It's a weird feeling. So to be able to have that type of a safe space where they can be their authentic selves and have someone that's there to listen, to understand, and not judge is a tremendous thing for our communities and as a whole. I think
I had someone like we had been talking for a few weeks, and then after a while they were like, oh, by the way, I'm into scat play. And I was like, okay, I'm not one to yuck anyone else's yum. That's not for me.
That's so
so
adorable.
that could be a situation where non-monogamy would be really beneficial. So you could go elsewhere and get that fetish
Yes.
or kink satisfied, and then I will be so happy that you were able to do that for you. That's so interesting.
For our audio only audience, I just saw JR whisper to Jasmine and define scat play.
I think my eyes just bulged. Like, what? That's a thing?
Oh, there's a platform
you
for
know
it
this.
called Scatbook.
It'll say
Scatbook.
But there's another word that someone requested. What was
that
it?
was like we've also
There was a
we've dabbled
custom
in
video.
sessions before, and that was a
Custom that someone
that was a
requested.
session.
A session.
They wanted a session of brown showers / wallowing.
And I didn't know what that was.
I don't know
What
what
is
wallowing is.
Okay, so there are those that identify as piggies, and they like to wallow in their own filth and their sessioner's own filth.
Okay.
So that's a thing that they like. They like to either be watched, and they like to be watched in it. And so that's where like session girls comes into play. Is that a lot of these guys that's where some women have monetized that type of a service for people that don't have that ability or still have that internal shame where they don't feel that they can be themselves. But yeah, no. So I mean, it definitely. I really like the way you said that. I don't like to yuck somebody's yum.
Won't yuck anyone else's yum.
Like it's
but just,
first off adorable, but also like that's a great way to say that. And
well, I didn't want to also make them feel. I don't want to make anyone feel guilty
Right.
about what they're interested in.
No,
it doesn't
no.
matter
Yeah.
where you come from, or I'm sure there are a lot of psychological aspects to all of these. Especially things that I do and we do. But I don't want to make anyone feel like they shouldn't be able to be open about those things that they're about and experiencing just like respectful rejection. Just like, okay, that's not for me. Totally happy for you to go find that elsewhere. But you're not going to find it here.
Yeah.
So, and remind me how long you have been doing this for.
We started the matchmaking business a year ago.
A year ago.
A year and a half ago.
So maybe maybe you won't have seen as much, but I would just be curious, like, have you seen any sort of like evolution of even in the industry or from where you started to where you are now, or maybe things that you've learned?
Yes, I have, since being open about my business, I have been reaching other people who have businesses in the realm. And I guess one that comes to mind really quickly is the Open organization. Have you guys heard of Open?
Open Love.
Yeah.
With Jackie and
Yeah, with Brett and
love them.
oh no, Open Love is Jackie and John.
Yes.
But Open Love is a nonprofit organization that's working towards legalizing stuff and things for non-monogamous people and families.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. I know exactly what you're
You
talking
know
about.
okay. Yeah,
Same
sorry.
but different.
Yes.
Same but different. I like that.
Same concepts, yes.
Yeah.
And I learned about them. I learned about different clubs. I learned about different organizations. So I guess learning about all the steps that people are taking to normalize non-monogamy. So there's going to be like a non-monogamous day of visibility.
Oh, nice.
And one of my plans is I'm a part of those meetings and going to try to maybe come up with an event to happen for that, and doing things the week prior to just get it more normalized and make it more progressive. And so learning about that, I would say.
Interesting. Yeah. Ryan, anything?
I would say I'm not changes in the industry so much, but kind of eye-opening in general. It's like there's more people that are into this than you would think.
Yes.
Right? Like that's kind of something that like, oh, okay, yeah, cool.
Well, an example would be last year for Exotica, I did a speaking engagement and I had 10 people. And this year I had over 100.
Wow.
Yes, that's a
What a
even
big
just
turnout.
like numbers. The
Yeah.
change in that I
I
feel
did
like
not get
is
enough
huge.
flyers passed out. So if you were listening to that talk, you can email me. I'll send you the flyer.
Yes. We'll have all
But,
of y'all's links and things up so that you
But
can reach out.
yeah, so it's a lot more common. And then also I've noticed too, whenever I'm talking to people out call it out in the wild, they're very receptive to the idea of open relationships. You know, they don't want to bring it up to their partner, but like I'm sure everyone's curious because, you know, there's documentaries where it talks about humans being terrible at being monogamous. You know what I mean? That's backed by science, literally.
Yeah.
I don't know the quote of that, but yeah, so it's just like people are interested, they are intrigued, and they just don't know how to start. They don't know how to bring it up to their partner. And it's just, you know, it starts with a conversation, and hopefully you're with a partner who's open-minded and cares about you, and you're
receptive to just
receptive
talking.
to all kinds of things. Yeah.
Now that you've reflected back, how about reflecting forward? Where do you think things are going to go? How are things projecting both for you and like culturally as well?
I think non-monogamy it's only up and coming, especially with dating apps having the filter for non-monogamous.
Like Field.
Yeah. Field. And then I think, okay, Cupid has the option. There's a couple other apps that have the non-monogamous thing. So the more people see it, the more it's going to become normalized and realize that you're not a bad person for it, you know, wanting to have an open relationship.
Society ebbs and flows, so I can see it going. I can see it going more progressive, and I'd love that. And I can also see it going the other way. It's very interesting. I don't know.
I love the non-monogamy filter just so I know who's monogamous and who I don't have to bother and who I don't risk getting hate mail from either. So I'm like, I'm so introverted and like anxiety ridden. I'm like, I don't want to bother anyone if you're monogamous. So thank you for those labels.
So a struggle that I have with my business in that kind of regard is that while my niche is non-monogamy, I help other matchmakers find singles for their clients who are traditional monogamous people. And so there was a time where I was looking for this woman for this client, and they blew up on me once they found out my niche.
Oh boy.
And they're like, don't even talk
projection.
Don't even talk to me if you're into that kind of stuff. And I was like, wow, okay, that had nothing to do with you, but like, okay, then you don't deserve to meet this person's client.
What kind of stuff do you think we do? Like sometimes they get,
It's the same. I mean, otherwise they're like, people have affairs all the time. If you're not in a committed
that's okay,
relationship,
isn't it? Right? No. Oh.
It's like it's all just it's a secret. And
As long as
some
you
people
say
are
you're
just
sorry afterwards.
open, like literally in open relationship. It's like people are doing the same things, you know, cross culturally, but just because you don't have a certain label, there's like,
And that was another point I wanted to bring up, was like openness and non-monogamy. It's a lot more common than people will think. Because think of it, either you got cheated on, you cheated, or you know someone who got cheated on or cheated, right? And that is unethical non-monogamy.
Exactly.
So just turning it around and having a conversation, making sure everyone's consenting and aware, then imagine like the how many more people would just be open with the relationships if they were just honest with themselves and their partners. You know what I mean?
So me and Jazmine, we love to, when we have to go through our decompress phase and we just don't want to be around people and have to kind of stay to ourselves, we'll binge watch, you know, old TV shows that we absolutely loved. And a lot of them, there are those scenarios where like they cheated or they almost cheated, and or they're arguing about one of those things, and we're both looking at each other. We're like, if y'all just open some things up,
to just join that other
you
world,
wouldn't have had this drama.
That is the thing. Like people are like, oh, non-monogamy is a failed experiment. I'm like, we're just trying to do something different that our parents did. Like the divorce rate is over 51% with that generation. And a lot of people that I've dated grew up in households where there was cheating, there wasn't love in the house, there was abuse. And we're just struggling to try to find an answer to something, to a formula that's better than it was yesterday. And it's not going to be pretty all the time. It's going to be messy sometimes, but we're just trying to do better than our parents did in many cases. And often in the process, we're criticized for trying to, you know, find a solution to what the cheating, you know, normalizing cheating.
There's so much judgment on other people where their actions are not affecting your life at all. Like I recently read an article about this throuple in Brooklyn that just welcomed a child into their relationship, and they're just like, the three of them sleep in the same bed, they divide responsibilities. Like imagine having another helping hand, and that child is just like surrounded by love, and there are just so many negative comments and just like, oh my gosh, that's disgusting. And it's like, that doesn't affect you at all. And there are so many unwanted children in the world, and this child is getting 3
3 parents.
3 parents, like,
Especially in Brooklyn where you need the extra help
Yeah.
exactly.
in this economy. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, like, and then, when it comes to just a thought I had when you had mentioned like 51% of our parents' marriages ends in divorce, I was going to say the other 49% probably should have ended in divorce.
Right, yeah. That's a conservative number because we only have that number for people who admitted to.
Yeah.
Well, and then you have like we're now, I think, and we're seeing the trending of a trend of where women don't necessarily need men anymore.
Yeah.
Like they are able to attain these higher positions, higher pay, still 30% less, whatever. But it's like it's really affecting marriage rates and like childbirth rates, and so things are changing. So either get on board or get off.
Yeah.
The best
Spot on.
Yeah. What type?
Final thoughts?
Final thoughts? Yeah. A piece, another maybe one-liner to
Some words of
someone-
wisdom.
Yeah, words of wisdom to maybe something you would tell yourself as you first got started, or someone who's just interested.
Well, I guess if I would tell myself it's not as scary as it seems. That's
Yes.
definitely words of wisdom that I wish I would have heard, like going into it, because you go into it and you're so afraid of everything. Like,
Yeah,
everything's
you have
new.
your silly rules in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
And then they loosen up once you're like, it's not as bad.
You gotta
It's-
text me as things progress with your dates to make sure, like, check in so every 10 minutes, and yeah.
Which all of those I feel like are fears that are rooted in work that you need to be doing on yourself.
Yeah.
And then that's when you grow, and it's like, okay, you're fine. I'd say this because Matt was my first like non-monogamous, and I had a lot of inner work that I had to do.
Yeah, I would say just being in an open relationship is one of the most liberating experiences that you can ever have. It's the epitome, like, I feel like being in an open relationship, it's like you're maxing out the I don't know, the love that you can have in a relationship because you're so open, you are so honest, your communication is so strong. You don't have to worry about a thing because you've built such a good foundation with your partner to have that conversation and know that they're not going to abandon you. They're here to stay, and
If they do, then you have enough strength, enough inner strength to move forward.
Absolutely.
And it's okay if things don't work out too.
Yes.
Yeah.
More or less. And so just being your authentic self.
Yeah.
You'll feel a lot better for
Yes.
doing it.
Good stuff.
Can I get an amen?
Yeah, well, we are going to put all of your information in the description. Please
Awesome.
reach out if you're curious. Thank y'all, our wonderful co-hosts.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Thank you for
Blast.
allowing us to be a part
Partners
of
in
this.
podcast.
I love this, by the
Yeah,
way.
thank y'all so much for your time.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for
this was
having us.
so
Happy to be
informative.
here.
Yeah, good stuff. And thank you for watching. We'll be back.
Bye-bye.
Bye.